Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the weekly recap from We Are Soccer. It is Monday night. We waited an extra 24 hours because there was a game today that we wanted to chat about. Yes, that Liverpool versus Newcastle game. Did you watch it? What a game it was. It had everything. And Liverpool, for the second week in a row, escaped. Yes, we got to talk about that. Are they the team to beat as we all predicted? I don't know. We'll talk about it. There's a lot to get to here. I can tell you what, though, officially from the We Are Soccer crew, this weekend sucked. Absolutely sucked. Teams that we all support lost. Aston Villa lost. Brighton lost. Stuttgart lost. Man United, well, they drew, but it felt like a loss. You know what? Why don't we just call this baseball? We are baseball. Yeah, because you know what? Losing one game out of 162 baseball season, it don't matter. No one cares. Welcome to the new baseball show. Whatever. All right, cue the intro. Let's go.
What? And I'm going to give you one opportunity because we're friends.
Winner! Who gives a shit about where the ball's been?
Yeah, F him. They went from loving this guy, best move ever, to hating him.
I think it's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
I love it because it tells you how the game was played.
There's nowhere for him to go. I think there's one place.
You can't do that in the national team. Do I look like I'm freaking kidding?
He does things that are absolutely insane.
Successful and sexy? No. It wasn't aggravating at times? Yes.
Sorry,
That's not very fair.
It's not about being fair.
Welcome to the greatest soccer show ever.
You heard it. Welcome to the greatest soccer show ever. We're talking about all the games this weekend from the EPL. We're talking a little bit of Bundesliga and a lot more. We're talking about Gio Reyna moving. We're talking about the NWSL attendance record being broken. We're talking about Son Heung-Min and Thomas Müller both scoring their first goals in MLS. But we're going to jump in. We're going to talk about EPL. Danny Price, Brooks Lambier, fellas, how we doing? How's the night going so far?
All magical. It's all magical tonight. It's all magical. We've had a full weekend of Premier League football. You know, some NWSL breaking records. I'm excited to talk about tonight's show, so let's get it underway.
Let's do it. Brooks, you're good? You good? Let's roll, right?
Yeah. Wish Brighton got a result this weekend, but it happens. Darn Everton in their home match. Thanks.
Darn
your
Everton,
Jack Grealish, Craig. Darn your Jack Grealish.
I tell you what, Everton were fantastic. We're going to talk about them in a little bit, but we're going to start out with that game that happened today. And oh my God, remember the name right now, Rio Naguma. Are you kidding me? 16 years old. He turned 17 this Friday. And in the 100th minute, scores the goal to win the game. What an incredible finish it was. Boys, overall, this game had everything. Liverpool go up 2-0, and then down a man, Newcastle went. So you're thinking Liverpool going to see this out easy. But no, it wasn't to be. Newcastle fought back. And honestly, before Naguma scored that goal in the 100th minute, I thought Newcastle were going to go on to win this thing. Danny, your thoughts on the game overall, my friend?
I thought Liverpool were lucky. I thought Liverpool were lucky for the second week in a row. Seemingly in control of the game. Great first half finishes. Great first half finish by Gravenbach. And then Etike in the second half, at 2-0. Albeit a man down, from a silly challenge. All in all, I thought it was a really poor Liverpool performance for the second week in a row. Took the foot off the gas. Not something that we're used to seeing from Liverpool, because last season, when Liverpool were thriving and putting teams under pressure, they'd finish teams off. And it just seemed like today and even last week against Palace, just a 2-0 lead and not finishing them off and allowing them back into the game, which was worrying. But overall, I think just getting the 3 points was important.
If you had to look at the squads on paper, if you had to say, all right, Liverpool this year compared to Liverpool last year, I think you would take this year's team. I think the team is better. I think Ekitike is a phenomenal pickup. I think he's going to be really good this year, by the way. I I would say the team this year seems a little bit more well-rounded, but you're right. It's got to be a little concerning for Liverpool fans that 2 weeks in a row, you're 2 up, looking like you're cruising. You could put 3 or 4 or 5 more past the opposing team. And then all of a sudden it's, what just happened? And now this week you're being bailed out by a 16-year-old. And luckily for them, they were down. They were up a man as Newcastle's Anthony Gordon with a silly tackle on Virgil van Dijk there. Virgil van Dijk, that his leg could have been snapped the way Anthony Gordon came in on that tackle. I thought just a terrible tackle.
Yeah, it was from behind, and he's come in late. But I mean, that's Anthony Gordon. He's all over the pitch, right? Putting players under pressure, and he's just gone into a tackle. It made for a bit of a feisty game, to be honest with you. Honestly, I think Liverpool, the signings that they made over the summertime, obviously Florian Wirtz and Etikike, just fantastic signings, just real attacking intent from Liverpool. But, I don't necessarily think, and I wish I was on last week's show to kind of share the same thoughts, but I thought the same thing after watching today's game was, if you look at the fullbacks that they've signed, Frimpong and Kirksey from Bournemouth, I don't think you can look at those 2 players and you can say that they are better replacements or better signings than the players that have left. Andy Robertson's been dropped, right? But with Trent obviously going to Real Madrid, I don't think that's an upgrade. Konate didn't play very well last week. I don't think he's the right partner for Virgil van Dijk. So, right. Liverpool's front 6 looks absolutely fantastic, but the back 4 is a little bit suspect right now.
Absolutely. Konate is the weak link, in my opinion. I think as soon as a deal can be struck with Crystal Palace to bring in Mark Guehi, I think Konate is in the bench, and I don't think you'll see him again unless it's a Carabao Cup game or just a nothing game where they don't need him. But I think Guehi is the man to partner Virgil van Dijk. I do expect, especially after today, watching him give the ball away, be out of position, I expect Liverpool to recognize this and go, okay, let's get it done. Let's just go get Guehi, and whatever it's going to cost, get it done.
Before we came online here, about half an hour before we came online, I don't know whether you saw that or not, but our good old friend in Italy, Fabrizio Romano, just put something out on Twitter or X that Man City are looking to hijack the deal for Mark Guehi. So, which is interesting, because Liverpool do need a centre back.
It's a hell of a tactic they're trying to do. They're trying to buy all the players everybody else wants to stop them advancing. It does.
It seems to be a theme at the moment, doesn't it? With Arsenal, Robin Easy from Tottenham, and it seems to be a bit of a theme at the minute. But
we'll talk about that Arsenal game, but they're going to need him because of the injuries that just happened in their squad. But yeah, it is a bit of a theme. People spending a lot of money on players that maybe they need or don't need. Really, I don't see a need for Manchester City to go get Guehi, but whatever. What do I know? I mean, right. Apparently Pep thinks so. I fully expect this one to get done. I fully expect Liverpool to go and buy him. I think it'd be a good move for the player as well, which would just ravage Crystal Palace. They have just lost player after player after player this window and not been able to buy anything. You got to feel bad for Glasner on that one. Okay, so listen, Newcastle now going to be without Anthony Gordon straight red for 3 games. That's going to hurt them a little bit. He was playing in the number 9 position there up top because obviously Isak hasn't made his way back in. Today's game made a little bit more feisty because of the Isak deal that's going on or not going on. Looks like they're going to sit on their hands and say, Isak, you can sit on the bench, earn your money. You're not going anywhere. Right. I don't know if that's a good move, but
I don't know. Obviously his head's not in the right place, right? For him to come into the team and make an impact. Although I think he's been training individually. We'll see what these next, 5-6 days. But Newcastle have got to find a replacement. Even if they do entertain the option to sell him, they've still got to find a replacement. I know they've been courting the forward from Brentford, but I don't see Liverpool. I don't see Liverpool pulling that one off. I don't see him not this late in the window because, like I said, I don't think Newcastle can bring in the reinforcements that they'll need from it.
So if they don't pull it off, Danny, and Isak doesn't leave, do you think Isak plays much at Newcastle, or do they keep him on the bench because they know he wants to leave?
I don't know. We've seen these things happen before, right? It happened several years ago with Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United, indicating he wanted to leave, and Sir Alex kind of got around him and said, "Look, give me a year, and then I'll give you the move that you want." You could see the same thing from Eddie Howe. Give me a year, and I'll get you the move that you want. And he might come in and do a job for Newcastle, but that's a difficult crowd up there. I got my best friends from Newcastle, and I got a few buddies up there. The Geordies they're very passionate about their football, really passionate about their football, and I don't think he'll be accepted considering the way that he's treated the club and sort of like the circus that's been surrounding Isak.
100% agree. All right, let's move on. One of the games I wanted to talk about was the first game that happened Friday. West Ham hosting Chelsea. West Ham have had a really poor transfer season window. They haven't really brought anybody in. They've let a bunch of players go. And then before the game even starts, you're thinking, you see that Chelsea are warming up. Cole Palmer limps off. He goes off injured with a muscle injury. So you're thinking, okay, Chelsea down their pretty much star player. West Ham might have a chance here. West Ham start off with a goal from Lucas Paqueta, which a worldie of a goal. What a strike that was. And you're thinking, wow, maybe they can go on to do a job here and pull one off over Chelsea. Boys, I don't know if you watched this game. Chelsea were absolutely phenomenal. Estavio, who came in to replace Cole Palmer, was incredible. I thought Chelsea, this was the game they got the tactics spot on, minus a couple of little miscues defensively, and Paqueta took advantage of that when nobody closed him down for the goal. They were absolutely incredible. Chelsea are looking like they could be contenders for the title. Thoughts on this one, boys?
I'm not sure about that. They look good in the summertime, but how can you have a Club World Cup without two of the best teams in the world there? Barcelona and Liverpool were not there, and I don't know. Chelsea played some good football, but I think it's a little bit too early to talk about them as title contenders, to be honest with you. I didn't think they played very well last week against Palace.
They did not.
I thought Palace, made them look very average at home as well. It's a little bit easier to go on the road right now and sort of, entertain West Ham, North London derby, that type of stuff. But, West Ham are not in the best place at all. They're not in the best place at all. So, great strike from Lucas Paqueta, but I'm surprised he's still at the club as well. Considering Man City were courting him last summer for 80 million or something like that before he got in trouble with the betting.
No one wanted to stump up that fee this summer because they weren't sure what was going to happen with the betting charges that were filed against him. And only last week did it come about and say no charges are going to be filed. So he now has a week to move. West Ham said they'd stick by him, so maybe he's just being loyal to them. Yeah, loyal maybe. But I think you're right. I think you're right, Danny. Maybe this game is less about Chelsea being really good and more about West Ham just being really bad. Maybe they were just really bad.
I think we've seen in the early parts of the season, like the early 2 weeks of the season. I don't know whether you both agree with this or not, but we've seen some very off performances from sort of like everybody. If you go back to the first week of the season, you look at Arsenal and the way that Arsenal played this weekend. Arsenal were made to look very average at home, away at Manchester United last weekend. United, obviously, everybody was like cautiously optimistic with that performance. And then you look at United against Fulham, and it was very different to what it was last week. Same with Arsenal. Arsenal looked absolutely fantastic this weekend. Chelsea, same. Man City against Wolves, when they went to Wolves and 4-1 win at Wolves, and you're looking at that and you're going, okay, if we overlook Manchester City again for the title this year, and then you look at the performance against Tottenham at the weekend, and they look very average, very, very poor. So
we're 2 weeks in, and you're right, Danny. Everybody's looked up and down. There's been no real consistency.
I think if you look at if I could put my finger on one team, which was really unexpected, to be perfectly honest with you, and after Ange Postecoglou left, I was like, Tottenham are in real trouble, but then they went out and got Frank as the head coach. And Tottenham have looked really good the last 2 weeks. the only team that's looked really good, consistent
The
in the
only
last
team.
2 weeks.
Yeah, and their game against Man City, they were willing to sit in, let Man City have all the possession, and Man City had no real opportunities, and all of a sudden Tottenham looked like world beaters, and they've got Richarlison looking like a world beater. Who would ever have thought the day would come with 2 weeks in a row Richarlison scoring goals and looking like a number one striker for Brazil? I
know.
Incredible,
I thought with Son going out to LA, I thought, and Maddison going down with an ACL injury, I went, where are they going to get the creativity from?
Yeah.
But Charlison's come in, and obviously they've made a couple of the signings and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Tottenham have looked really good, actually, to be honest with you. Thomas Frank's done a really good job there.
I mean,
go ahead, Brooks. Go ahead.
One thing for me is, how about the 3 promoted teams? I mean, I know it's early. There were 2 matches in here, but each one of them have won a match, guaranteed. Burnley and Sunderland played this past weekend, and Burnley won that match. But, I mean, none of them are right now in the relegation. It's Brighton, Wolves, and West Ham. And I know, again, we're 2 matches in, but, I mean, you would expect a lot of the promoted teams to struggle. And, we'll see what happens as the weeks keep going on. But, I mean, that's a surprise, I think, to all of us, right?
Yes.
Yes and no. I mean, things will start to shake themselves out. I think once you start to get to the middle of sort of end of October, middle of November, you start to see sort of the league take shape. There's not a great deal of movement between December and May, with especially with the top 10, but yeah, when we get to the middle of November, we'll start to see things take shape and consistent performances.
Yeah. It is nice to see some of those teams get early wins, though, right? That means we're not going to be dealing with the things we dealt with last year, where a team doesn't get, they get 3 wins on the year. So a little bit more parity, we'll call it, for the bottom half of the table. Burnley 2, Sunderland 0. Sunderland looked pretty good last week, not so much this week. Burnley will be the opposite. Bournemouth 1, Wolves 0. Bournemouth, not the greatest team this year. Wolves are going to struggle. Wolves are really going to be in that bottom 3 after 2 weeks. If you've asked me to pick a team that I think could be going down, Wolves might be it. They are going to struggle mightily.
They just sold another forward, haven't they?
Craig.
What'd you say, Brooks?
I picked them to go down.
You did. You're the only one who picked them to go down, by the way. Yeah. I know. But no.
They just sold another forward as well, Fabio Silva, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
He's heading to Dortmund, right?
And they've turned down offers for another player, but that could change really quickly. Wolves are going to struggle. Wolves are terrible this year, plain and simple. They haven't spent money. Let's move along real quick. Crystal Palace 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Listen, this game could have been won by either team. I felt after watching this game, a draw was a fair result. The Crystal Palace fans had a great banner, a great tifo made of the Nottingham Forest owner. Crystal Palace fans are not going to be in trouble. Crystal Palace is going to be in trouble for somehow allowing that to happen. But obviously, we know the situation with those two and the Europa League. So the spot there, anyway, FIFA and the corruption and everything, they're all calling UEFA that. Let's just jump in. Let's go. Brentford 1, Aston Villa 0. Since Unai Emery's been in charge at Aston Villa, they've had 6 games where they have had possession of 78% or more. 2 of those games have resulted in draws. The other 4 have resulted in losses. 4 losses where they've had 78% of the ball and lost. Like, that's a game. When you have that much possession, you should win. You have more corners. You have more shots. You have more this. You have more possession. You have more that. Like, Villa in the final third this week, we're terrible. We're absolutely terrible. Make one mistake in the back, and the ball's in the back of the net. They were their own downfall. The two center backs got too close together. The ball went over the top. The Brentford forward knocked it on. He's away. Martinez makes a great save to begin with. They can't find the ball. It bounces back to the forwards in the back of the net. Villa they didn't look like they wanted to be in this game, to be honest. Danny, I thought Villa were average when they needed to be good. And Bournemouth were good enough.
Yeah, I think we've seen last 2 weeks now with Villa, just not firing on all cylinders, just kind of going about their business, but not but not punishing teams and putting teams away like they were last year. I fully expect that to change. It's very early in the season, I do expect that to change with Villa. Maybe do we think that Villa have got a little bit more business to do in this next week? In terms of transfers of players they're bringing in.
Yep.
I think maybe potentially another forward to come in.
Yeah. I think they'll do a little bit more business. They got to be very clever on their business, though. Maybe one who I'm not a huge fan of, Nicholas Jackson, has been talked about, but Unai Emery has worked with him before. So that could very well work. And listen, I think another forward is needed because, as you said, they've just been average. Don't look as though they're really into it. Is it going to change? Freaking hope so, because it's horrible to watch, by the way. But yeah, Brentford, I think, are not a good team either, by the way. So people will pick up points against them. But it's, I watch a lot of the other teams, like Newcastle last week against Villa. They were all over Villa for 80 minutes of that game. Newcastle today, even though they went down a man, you could see the passion of the fans and the players who wanted to go forward and try to win that game, even down a man, was incredible. Liverpool, you watch them, they are looking like they want to score goals. Chelsea obviously scored a lot of goals this week. They wanted to go forward and have some fun. Man United, not so much this week, but last week I thought were incredible the way they played, and the players looked like they're up for it. Arsenal, this week, we're up for it. Last week, a little off. Villa, 2 weeks in a row, just off, and that's my concern. You got to get the boys up and running, and I haven't seen it yet, so little concerned there. Yeah. All right, Danny, let's jump in. Let's talk about Fulham. Fulham won, Man United won. I will kind of give you the floor on this one. Have at it, my friend. Where are we thinking with this week's performance compared to last week's performance against Arsenal?
Yeah, I think coming out of last week, there was a lot of optimism, right? With the way that they played. I've watched every game in preseason, and it looks like the system's working. It looks like you can start to see an identity, a style of play there, how the pressing's changed from this year to last year. And then you saw it against Arsenal. It was on full view. I don't think Arsenal really knew what to do and how to sort of approach that game. I think everybody, including myself, when the team sheet came out against Arsenal, that we were going to sit back, and we didn't. We put them under a great deal of pressure, and then it kind of flipped and it went back to the old issues against Fulham, where the system worked against Arsenal but didn't work against Fulham because they exposed the midfield, which is a huge area for us right now that I hope and expect them to dip into the market before Tuesday next week, because I just don't think I've got a couple of questions, and I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but these are the things that I'm thinking about. So let's go with this. Why did we sign 2 number 10s when we got Bruno Fernandes? Why did we sign Cunha and Bemo when we've got Bruno Fernandes? Yep. Right, and we got Mason Mount as well, right? So why did we buy those 2? Were we buying those 2 because we thought Bruno was going to leave and he changed his mind last minute? Why is Kobe Mainoo sitting on the bench when he's an 8? Right?
And you've got Casemiro, who looks like his boots are filled with cement right now, in there, slowing everything down.
Yeah, I mean, just to me, the alarming thing is that Bruno Fernandes' head looked like it had gone in the first 5 minutes of the game on Sunday against Fulham, regardless of the penalty kick. Yeah. It looked like he had other things on his mind, and now it's come out that Saudi Arabia are back in for him and all that sort of stuff. So maybe things are correlating a little bit. But why bring Mason Mount? Why bring Mount off? Right. When you brought Sesko on, why bring Mount off?
Right.
To take Fernandes off, put Mainoo on, bring Mount off, and put Sesko on. Then you've got your 2 10s with Sesko up front and Mainoo and Garte in the middle of midfield, and let's have at it. Let's see what it looks like. I just don't understand the thinking there. But in the first 20 minutes of the game, they looked phenomenal. Hit the post twice, could have been 3-0 up. Yep. Had 65-70% possession of the ball. Style of play was phenomenal. And then we missed the penalty in it. Fulham Fulham changed some things at halftime because they really exposed the gaps in that midfield.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, United were lucky to get out of that with a draw at 1-1. Because Fulham could have won the game in the second half.
I am not convinced that Almiron's tactics are are quite up to snuff right now with the Premiership and the speed of play and the way other managers can neutralize some of his best players. I agree with you. Why buy some players when you've already got players in that position? Is Bruno Fernandes? I mean, to be honest, at this point, listen, regardless of my thoughts on Fernandes as a player, he is a phenomenal player. But maybe at this point, sell him. He looks like he's maybe just gone past and his head's in other places. Sell him, take the money, buy other players. You need better midfielders. You need better defenders and a goalie. So there are other positions that need to be bought. And at some point, Fernandes, I think he's 30 now, right? He's not going to be worth that much next year. So take it when you can. But I just don't see some of the players that you have in there and leaving a weak back line like that.
I don't necessarily think I don't see a lot of people say the system. Man United is not a 3-4-3 system or a 3-5-2 system. They're not that type of system. I actually disagree with a lot of people there because Chelsea weren't a 3-4-3 when Conte came into the Premier League and he won the Premier League that first season because people couldn't adjust to it. Ruben Amorim at Sporting played a 3-4-3 with Sporting and absolutely battered Man City in the Champions League last season. So. For me, I don't think it's the system. I think it's more of the fact that we're still sort of in that infancy phase of him trying to change and bring in players that can play within that system. Let's not forget here, and I don't want to overreact, and I don't want to undermine the fact either that they've lost some games, but let's not forget about the fact that he only came in last November. He's not been in a full year yet. He hasn't had a full window, almost done, a week away, but he hasn't had a full window, and it's going to take I'm guessing it's going to take another summer window here to get what he wants, unless, to your point, and I actually, for the first time in Manchester United, Craig Hearn, Danny Price conversations here, I actually agree with you. I actually, if I was Manchester United right now, I'd be picking up the phone in the morning to Al Ittihad and Al Nassr out in Saudi Arabia and saying, okay, what's the price? And if the price is 100 million for Bruno Fernandes, I'm saying he's all yours. Because with that 100 million, and the fact that Lemons, the goalkeeper, is the one that they want, it seems like it's already done without the transfer fee of Fernandes. I would sell Fernandes and I would go and throw 120 million at Balaba right now at Brighton. And I would say, there's 120 million. We'll bring in the 8. We'll stick him next to Mainu. There you've got your 2. You've got your 6 and your 8, or your 2 8s in the middle of midfield. You've got your 2 10s in Cunha and Mbemo and Tesco up front. That to me looks like a better structure for Manchester United. It really does.
Absolutely.
It looks like a way better structure. Because I don't think we're going to get 100 million for Bruno Fernandes next summer.
No, you will not. No,
I mean,
I think this is the summer selling.
I would turn around and sell Casemiro as well to Saudi Pro Team if they want him.
Of course, but like taking nothing away from Fulham, I thought Fulham and were absolutely terrific in the second half. What was interesting to me, and I'm sure you saw this as well, Craig, was that when Fulham brought on
Emil Smith-Rowe,
Emil Smith-Rowe, and the other left-sided inverted forward.
Who was it?
I've forgotten his name now.
Harry Wilson?
Yeah, Wilson.
Harry Wilson.
When they brought on Wilson and Smith-Rowe, it completely changed the game for Fulham. They were absolutely terrific. And when United brought on Ugarte and Sesko, nothing changed.
Right.
Absolutely nothing changed. I think that's worrying for me.
Yes.
But again, it's early doors yet, and I do think that he will be given time. He's openly admitted that. I do think it looks better than it did last year.
Sure.
But he's got to start getting results quickly.
I was about to say, the next question, Danny, is listen, I think Manchester United actually have the toughest opening 5 games in the Premiership. They're not going to win. Obviously, the next 3 are going to be very tough, but you got to pick up a win somewhere. You got to pick up a result here and there. And I guess you could call a result against Arsenal. I guess you could call a result against a draw against Arsenal a result, right?
It is. I mean, it is a result. Yeah, I think, it is a result. You say that you're getting beat by Arsenal at home, and back in the day, you're thinking that's a bad result, but given the way that they played, it's probably brought him a little bit of grace.
Sure.
You're looking at Burnley this weekend. You're thinking 3 points. You've got to beat Burnley this weekend, right?
Absolutely.
And then you go on international break. You come back. You play Man City away. You're thinking, okay, you beat them there last year. you can go and do it again. Can you do it? Go and do it again. Can you get a draw there? And then Chelsea at home, and you're thinking, okay, well, if you just played that well at home against Arsenal, can you beat Chelsea at home? So, I mean, if he gets a couple of results here in the next 2-3 games, you know, and we get to mid-October, November, and he's in the top 6-7, you know, I think we can start to say, okay, well, let's just wait and see what happens. But he has to start getting results quickly.
Has to get those results. And on the opposite side of the coin, if you pick up let's just go the other way, a draw against Burnley, a loss against City, and a loss against Chelsea, then he's really going to be under the cosh. And then all of a sudden the pressure just, at some point it just could come and go, no, this isn't going to work. So, you know, something will, in my mind, this is Manchester United, it will get better. Something will bounce, and they will pick up a result against a Chelsea. They will beat a Burnley and maybe lose to a City or something like that. And at that point, you're going, okay, better than the alternative. But yeah, okay. As we've talked about with Man United, wait and see. A lot of players in. We'll wait and see. All right. Some of the other scores I want to make sure we talk about. Everton 2, Brighton 0. Brighton not very good, Brooks. I'll let you have at this one if you want.
Well, I did watch that game. I actually had time to watch this week. I mean, games on Saturday to go scout. So, listen, Matoma and Minte are not bad, you know, getting forward and creating chances in the final third. The question for me is, when does the time in Danny Welbeck, do you keep going with him, or do you need someone to replace him? Because João Pedro was the guy last year, and then Welbeck would come off the bench. So that's the question right there, is who's going to be the guy that's going to come in and be your true number 9, like your starter, and then Welbeck come off the bench because of his age? That's my question.
Brighton has sold enough players in the last couple of years for how much money? How have they not brought in a striker? How are we relying on 35, 36-year-old Danny Welbeck?
So I think the biggest question mark is they've let Juan Pedro go, right? They haven't replaced him. Yep. They've let Evan Ferguson go to Roma, and he's scoring goals for fun.
Yep.
You know, and they haven't replaced him. Yep. You know, and now you're stuck with Danny Welbeck up front. You know, Dalaba goes off at halftime, and the managers, you know, come out and said his head's not in it because his head's turned by Manchester United and all that sort of stuff. And you know, Brighton are struggling at the minute. But Everton were terrific.
I will say this, though. They did cause issues for Everton. Everton were not clean out of the back early on. There were a lot of turnovers in the defensive third for Everton where Brighton could have scored. This game could have been 2-2, 2-1,
very easily could have been 2-2. Absolutely. Especially because Pickford saved a penalty at the end from Welbeck. Yes. Very easily could have been. I really liked Everton when they got the ball moving forward, though. I loved the fact that Jack Grealish had license to get the ball and go. And he ran at players, and he had the 2 assists on both goals, which showed that defenders were watching him as he tried to glide past. They brought a second defender over, attracted men, open space, allowed shots, right? He did glide past on the first one and clipped it in. I love the fact that some of the moves that Everton have made this summer, and they're not sexy moves outside of the Grealish one, I think this could be a fun team to watch this year in a brand new stadium, which by all account looks phenomenal, by the way. Sam Dickinson Stadium, I believe it's called. Listen, credit to David Moyes and what he's been able to do since he's gotten to Everton, after he took over from Dyche last year. So credit to him, credit to Everton for giving him some money to go out and do it and let him do his thing. They're going to be fun to watch. Brighton are in trouble. Brighton are going to be probably anywhere from 12th to 15th this year, Brooks, if they don't pick up a striker and go and find people to help them.
Well, the key.
What was interesting?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Brooks.
Yeah, just the one point I make. The key are going to be the wingers. Your goals are going to be scored from your wingers, Matoma and Minte. They'll then create the chances. And Matoma went off last year, as we know, and he got assists. So, it's going to come from either side with the wingers. And then if you get a goal from Welbeck here and there, you find another striker to go along with Welbeck. I think they can hang in there and they'll be fine because they can be dynamic going forward. But go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, it was always going to be a difficult game for Brighton, wasn't it? A new stadium's like a new manager bounce. You're walking into a new stadium, Grealish is starting. They've just signed Tyler Dibbling from Southampton. They've got 2 now wingers that are, fast pace, high energy, creating tons of chances. He's made some astute signings in the transfer market. David Moyes is a good manager. There's no two ways about that. He's a very good manager.
Yep.
But I will say this, like, what a strike from Ghana. What a strike, to go to a lot. But yeah, game could have gone either way, but a fantastic performance in the end from Everton and a well-deserved 3 points.
Yep.
A well-deserved 3 points 133 years after they played their first game at Goodison Park. What are the chances of that? They open up a new stadium exactly 133 years after opening Goodison Park.
I always get nostalgia, really, like that sickly feeling, because when you've grown up in football in England for so long, and these stadiums like Highbury at Arsenal, the Dell at Southampton, now St Mary's, now Goodison Park is gone, and Goodison was kind of enclosed and very loud, and now it's this big stadium. White Hart Lane, very enclosed, and now it's a big stadium. Yeah. I'm holding on to this hope that we renovate our stadium and we don't tear it down and build a new one, because there's so much history there, crazy.
It's funny that you're right. Nostalgia. That's a good way to put it with a lot of these old stadiums. All right, boys, we got a lot to get to here. Before we do get to it, we're going to pause for a second, but we're going to be talking about the NWSL breaking the attendance record. We're going to talk about Heung-Min Son and Thomas Müller scoring their goals. We're going to talk some Bundesliga and a couple of other fun things right after this.
Hi, Brooks. We're at our favorite store, Soccer World in Rochester. We're just gonna do some light shopping. Nothing big. Ooh, pretty colors. Oh, and one of these too?
Ooh, Germany. Nate would like this.
Hey, Brooks, look at all these. Look what I got.
South America. Ooh, wow, that's not MLS. Cool.
Socks? No.
Ooh, a ball pump.
Next in line.
Sir, you're next.
Right. That's a mannequin, you know that.
Huh?
Oh. Mannequin.
Oh. Sorry, sir.
Park, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Ah.
All right, boys, let's wrap up the EPL talk here. Okay, last game we didn't talk about. Arsenal 5, Leeds 0. This game could have been 10-0, to be honest. But the unfortunate news for Arsenal, Bukayo Saka and Martin Ødegaard both go off injured. Ødegaard fell on his shoulder, looked to be in a little discomfort. I don't think that's going to be a big deal. But Saka limped off with what looked to be a hamstring injury, which, well, who knows? That could be weeks or months, depending how bad it is. But they do have, and they introduced him at halftime, Eberechi Eze coming in, who can fill in that spot. Arsenal, though, after week one, I'll say disappointing results against Manchester United. Disappointing performance, I would say. It didn't seem that they were at their best. This week came out and really, man, they were phenomenal. So, Arsenal fans, I don't know, get back on the horse and you should be ready. Danny, Arsenal, thoughts? Can they finish second again this year?
I think Arsenal can win it this year. Just depends on whether they can stay injury free.
Well,
I had them down to win the league this year. I'm standing by that statement for now. But it has to be this year. It has to be this year, and it has to be a major trophy. He spent $1 billion over the last 7 years, and this is, you go another year without winning a big trophy, the questions are going to start to be asked. And he's brought in some reinforcements, and he's still in the transfer market this week to bring in another defender. So, he's got the goalkeeper now. He's got the forward. Obviously, Gyökeres scored twice this weekend. He's got the wingers. Like you said, a little bit disappointing that Saka and Ødegaard are both injured now. you know, and Ødegaard is kind of the linchpin of that midfield, you know, and
100%.
Moreno's nowhere near that level.
Yep.
Nowhere near that level. So, you know, are Arsenal going to struggle? I don't think they will in the front three because, like you said, Easy's coming in. He'll probably go to the left-hand side. Mariuke from Chelsea that came in, he'll probably go to the right side. You know, so it doesn't unbalance the team too much. But that midfield is massive. You know, and Ødegaard, he pulls all the strings. So, but I definitely do think it's Arsenal's year this year. You know.
3 big trophies this year that could be won, right? Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League. If he wins none of them, he's got to be gone because he's been given 7 years and over £1 billion to spend, and he hasn't produced a major trophy. This is the year. You're right. This is the year, Danny.
Yeah, no, he has to win it. He has to win a trophy this year. He has to win a trophy. And we're not talking about the League Cup either. We're talking a trophy.
Right.
You know, he's already won the FA Cup. He did that early on in his career. It's the only trophy he's won with Arsenal outside, if you want to call the Community Shield a trophy. But he has to, in my mind, for him to say that the last 7 years have been, you know, the time that Arsenal have given him to get the team where it needs to be, competing on all fronts in Europe, he has to win the Premier League or the European Cup this year, the Champions League. He was close last year with the Champions League, obviously, and he gave Liverpool a good run, but yeah, it has to be this year, one of those two.
100%. All right, moving on. We got a lot of other stuff to get to here, boys. Let's just jump in. Let's talk about the Bundesliga for a little bit. I don't know if you saw the opening game. Bayern Munich versus Leipzig. That was a Friday game. 6-0 Bayern. This one could have been 12-0, fellas. Leipzig, oh boy, they look a bit off the pace, and Bayern are phenomenal right now. Their front three of Kane, Olise, and Diaz up front. Just wow. They were scoring goals for fun. Harry Kane, he had a hat trick, although it was a 4th, a 5th, a 6 goals. Michael Olise looks like he's up for it. Luis Diaz looks like he's up for it. The midfield looks like they're great. This could be, you might be looking at, you're looking at, absolutely 100%, you're looking at the Bundesliga champions. Okay?
They're going to walk it this year. They'll walk
100%. But you could be looking at the Champions League. You could be looking at the Champions League favorites right now.
I would not bet against them doing a league and European Cup double. Yeah. You know, I could definitely see that with the squad, the strength that they've got in that squad. Yeah, 100%.
Brooks, you seem to disagree.
No, so don't say that because you're no upset Nate if you think Bayern Munich's going to run away with it.
Nate's a realist. Yeah. Nate is a realist, and he will even say to you that Bayern are the team to beat on all fronts this year.
And he'll look at these scores and say they just demolished Leipzig, right? Borussia Dortmund tied 3-3.
Hey, look at Eintracht Frankfurt 4-1 against Werder.
Yeah, but they're not a contender. Bayer Leverkusen, they were your contender. They lost. I mean, and look, a lot of these clubs have issues. Bayer Leverkusen were supposed to be a challenger, but they've lost players. Erik ten Hag doesn't seem to have been able to bring in sufficient replacements. Borussia Dortmund have had issues. Joe Bellingham hauled off at halftime, and now his dad has been told he can't be down in the dressing room anymore by the club. I think right now you just say Bayern Munich, cancel the season, here's the trophy, you're done. Just run training sessions for your Champions League games. Sorry,
yeah,
man.
It seems like everybody else around them is sold players, you know, and Bayern is obviously kept what they have, and they don't really sell too much, and then they've strengthened in certain areas as well. In particular, that front three. That front three for me is devastating. It really is, and it's a front three that's arguably better than most Premier League teams. You know,
100%. I mean, Harry Kane on the first goal came so deep to get the ball. He was laying off the ball to other players. They've figured something out with him in that league. By the way, he has 8 hat tricks for Bayern Munich.
Wow.
I mean, he's lethal. He's absolutely lethal. Harry Kane is one of the last dying breed of like a proper goal scorer, a true 9 goal scorer. He's a traditional English number 9, an Alan Shearer, Teddy Sheringham. You know, he's a fantastic forward. Absolutely fantastic forward.
100%. There's your Farmers League. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, Nate. But this league is
a true Farmers League now.
It really is. It is.
You know,
whenever the English teams are looking to bring in a replacement player and they don't want to go spend as much money, where do they go? They go to the Bundesliga. They're looking to pick it out there. So it is what it is. All right, fellas, we're moving on. We got a couple of other things to get to. By the way, why don't we talk about Gio Reyna moving from Borussia Dortmund after 6 years to Mönchengladbach. So the U.S. men's national team midfielder has completed his transfer to Borussia Mönchengladbach from Bundesliga rivals Borussia Dortmund. The clubs announced over this weekend. Reyna, only 22 years old, by the way, has signed a 3-year contract through the summer of 2028. For Reyna, it means an end to his 6-year stay at Dortmund, where he began his professional career after leaving New York City FC's academy. Brooks, this one is on you, my friend. We had this same issue, not on you, but this one is one I really want to talk to you about, because who was the player we had last week who left the Bundesliga to come back here?
Paxton Aronson.
Paxton Aronson. And we both said, listen, this is a great move for the kid. He's going to come back to the MLS. He's going to play for Colorado Rapids. It's $7 million transfer. He's going to get playing time. He's going to be able to showcase his skills for 2026 World Cup. Gio Reyna, should he have come back to MLS or should he have taken this move? I think part of the move is his best friend Joe Scally over there at Gladbach.
I mean, listen, they're U.S. men's national team teammates, so I'm sure that helped a little bit. Listen, the question is he going to play? Is he going to get minutes? There's no guaranteed minutes at Mönchengladbach because that's always been a solid club that's competed top 6, right, in the Bundesliga at least. So, listen, there is no guarantee he is going to play. There were talks about possibly some MLS teams wanting him and maybe coming back to play a little bit, just like Paxton Aronson did. So, he chose to stay in Europe. That's fine. But the question is he going to battle it out and see it through and get playing time, which means he gets back into the men's national team picture, if Pochettino considers that, or is it too late for him to get back into the picture? Because we have this, international window coming up here in September. It'll be interesting to see who gets called in. I don't know how many of the European guys will, but in the other windows they have, there's 6 of them total international friendly windows before the World Cup next year. Does he get in the other ones in the fall, or maybe one in early spring to prove himself? And that's the question here.
This has to be, I hope for his sake that he made this move to get playing time, and not because his friend's there, not because he wanted to stay in Germany, or not because of whatever it is, but I hope it was 100% made to, I can go to this team, I can get on the field, and I can play, because there is a good player in there. There's a creative player in there. We need to be able to see that creative player, because in 2026, we need someone on the field like him when he's at his best for USA national team. I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting move.
It's never been anyone doubting that he can't do it at the national team level. It's just his attitude. It's his attitude and how he approaches things. And listen, no one wants you in the locker room for a national team if you're going to, be negative, or it's all about me, it's not about the team. And Pochettino doesn't want that. He clearly stated that. There were problems with Nation League about guys not feeling that way. There was more it was better when Gold Cup came along. There was more of a team atmosphere, and that's what he's preaching. All for one, we're all in this together. We're gonna go into the World Cup 2026 together to try to do the best we can, and hopefully get far enough and show that the U.S. is a soccer country in the World Cup this upcoming summer. And that's gonna be the rub with Gio. Is he gonna change his attitude? Because I'm sure Pochettino is going to be talking to that coach a lot, as he changes his attitude. What's it like to get along with his teammates? Because with Pochettino, I think there's no guarantee that he will bring the same guys that were in the last World Cup to this 2026 World Cup. I think it's a free-for-all. Sorry, Danny.
Danny, you were going to say something?
No, I wasn't.
No,
I was not. I'm a little bit. the Gio Reyna thing for me, it just, everything that's gone on behind the scenes, it's another Garnacho for me. Just a player that's just wild expectations, great expectations coming out of his youth, and somebody that hasn't delivered in the way that Christian Pulisic has. So I don't, I mean, does he deserve to go into the next camp for the internationals for the US? I don't know. I don't watch him enough to be able to say that. Me personally, I would stay away from it and just focus on the players that I have.
Yep. Well, we'll see if he gets called in for this September window and then any of the windows following. But hopefully he gets back on track and can get his footing and have fun playing soccer again, because it just seems like he hasn't been having fun the last couple of years. All right, boys, this is some interesting news, and I thought it was great for the game. This is the Bay FC breaks the NWSL attendance record in Oracle Park. They sold out this baseball stadium. So Bay FC set a new record, attendance for an NWSL game with a sold-out crowd of 40,091, watching its loss to the Washington Spirit at San Francisco's Oracle Park on Saturday. The previous record was set when the Chicago Stars hosted Bay FC at Wrigley Field, the home of the Chicago Cubs, when they played in front of 35,000 in June of 2024. It just shows that the game is growing, men's and women's, that it's growing and people want to go and watch and be part of it. It is a great thing. Danny, you coach high school girls. You have coached a lot of girls teams. Sorry. This is great, isn't it? I mean, this is something just shows that the game continues to grow here in this country.
It's wonderful for the game. It's absolutely wonderful for the game. I think, the more young girls that we can get watching the NWSL, I think it will just give them so much inspiration. Just like it did when I was a young boy watching professional players play, and the inspiration, the role models that I got from that was absolutely tremendous. And I can only speak to the fact that I've got a beautiful niece at home that's doing so well with football and has had sort of that. The women's professional league in England, is something to look up to, and I think it's been great for the game. And you can see now it's transcended. I think got to give a lot of credit to the US for the way that globally the US women's national team over the 20 years, over the last 25 years, have sort of brought everyone's sort of captive audience into how the game is supposed to be played and the trophies that they won and the little girls that they inspired. But I think the generation of today's female athletes are just the wonderful human beings, and what they're doing for the game is absolutely tremendous.
Yeah. I just wish this wasn't done in a baseball park. I wish it was done like in an MLS stadium or something. I mean, listen,
but you know what? It's baby steps, right? I mean, 10 years ago we were talking about 10 teams in the MLS, and now we're talking a lot more than that. And the game's grown here on the men's side so much. Give the women's side another 10 years and they'll be playing in packed out 60,000 seater stadiums. The women will.
No, exactly.
They will.
No, exactly. And, you got USL Super League, expanding, they're starting to build their own stadiums or share the ones with the USL Championship or League One teams on the men's pro side. Then you got WPSL coming in for Division 3. We'll see what that's to be made of in America. It's after the World Cup in 2027 or 2028. So it's expanding. It's giving more Americans collegiately in the youth game here the opportunities to play in the pro game, and then also for European players to come over here and play more so. So this is great. This is good to see. And NWSL is bringing in 2 new teams next year with the Boston Legacy and then Denver Summit FC. So, and Denver's building their own stadium, and we'll look to see what Boston Legacy do. But, that's great that the NWSL is expanding with 2 teams next year as well, and then USL with a few more in 2026.
Yep, great to see. All right, speaking of the MLS, well, these 2 GOATs came over this summer, Son Heung-Min and Thomas Mueller, and they both scored goals this past week in the first goals in MLS. That goal that Son Heung-Min scored, wow, what a banger of a free kick that was, huh? Great to see them score goals. Great to see them getting on. And listen, I don't care what you think about these guys, if they're aging players or whatever you want to say, they are really, really good players. People are paying attention to them from around the world, which is bringing more notoriety to the league. It can only help. Am I right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, I think I read. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
No, 100%. It's just, I think these two players in particular, very different from the marquee players that have come to the MLS in years past with Gerrard and Beckham and Ibrahimovic, household names. I mean, yeah, they're both household names for sure, but not to the stature of players that have come before them. But these two are just, you talk about the intelligence of a footballer. It must be an absolute treat for some of these MLS players that, upcoming youngsters, in this MLS, maybe they're playing in the second team in the MLS, but to get to watch these guys train and how they've taken care of their bodies for so many years and the intelligence that comes with these two blokes, what an experience for some of these lads,
100%, Danny. That is a great point. I mean, if you get to watch Thomas Mueller practice every day, probably the way he shows up to training, the way he treats training, the way he treats his body after training, and you're a young kid who's just getting brought into the MLS and you watch that, you'll understand the dedication of how you can last in a league until you're 35 and earn a lot of money and notoriety from around the world. So you're absolutely right. What a treat it is for some of those kids. Brooks, you were going to say something?
Yeah. So, I mean, with these two, listen, you're going to get jersey sales. I know Stone's jersey sales are like top 3, and he just got there. He's a guy that's loved by everyone because of his attitude and just the type of person he is. But you get character with these two. I don't know if you guys saw the press. I sent you guys the video in our group chat.
I saw it. I watched it, mate.
But the video of Thomas Mueller, the video of Thomas Mueller being in the press conference, oh, my teammate Tristan Blackman's going in with the net, and he's like, oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. You get some flair, Messi is quiet, funny. Suarez is just serious, but you get some charisma here with these two, where smiles and laughter, and I think that'd be good for the league, and along with the style of play. Listen, Son and LAFC with him and Belanga, that's going to be a very dangerous front. And for the front 3 they have, those two in the front, it's going to be dangerous. You bring Mueller off the bench, sometimes he starts some matches, he'll do his thing for Vancouver. I'm excited if these two teams meet in, I don't know if they play again at the end of the season. I have to double check the schedule. But if these two teams meet in the playoffs, this will be a fun one to watch.
Absolutely. All right, a couple of things to round off the night here, boys. So it looks like Donnarumma has agreed to terms with Man City on a $43 million transfer, but the PSG Stars move hinges on Ederson's exit. Fully expect that to happen. Man City will find a way to get their man in the door. I think it's a great signing, but I don't know how he fits in with Pep Guardiola's system of really needing a goalkeeper to be excellent with his feet. But that is the rumor right now, per Fabrizio Romano, that Donnarumma has agreed terms with Man City, and he's just waiting for Ederson to leave Man City before he can be officially announced and brought into the club. Best goalkeeper in the world, in my opinion, last year. Donnarumma was phenomenal in the Champions League, in my opinion. I think he won the Champions League for PSG. Several occasions he just made saves that were incredible.
Is that Pep signing Donnarumma admitting that he made a mistake in signing Trafford? Because that'd be $80 million on 2 goalkeepers in the window.
I don't know, because we've known Ederson. I keep saying Ederson. We know Donnarumma's been available for a couple of months now, right? So I don't know why he would. It might be. Maybe he just thought he got him into training, but he knows Trafford. Trafford was at the club prior, wasn't he?
Is he thinking Trafford's the future? Is he thinking Trafford's the future then?
Donnarumma's 27,
and that's what I'm saying. There's something going on there, because you've just dropped $40 million to bring a kid back that you let go. He's made a mistake at the weekend. Now it's highlighted.
Yeah.
And now you're bringing in a $40 million veteran at 27 years old who's won everything. You admit a mistake, or are you just seizing an opportunity in the market?
I mean, I think he'll get that money back for selling Ederson to Saudi Arabia. I think he was going for 40 or 50 million, wasn't he? I think that's
rumor.
what
the rumor wasn't the rumor that that Galatasaray wanted him.
Yeah, that's the newest rumor. Galatasaray, they're still going to have to pay anywhere from 30 to 50 for him. But
so basically Saudi Arabia anyway.
Yeah,
Galatasaray,
exactly.
Turkey.
Exactly. It's just interesting, though, right? Trafford's been brought in, and he has not played well, in my opinion. Did make a mistake the weekend, and we'll see what happens when Donnarumma gets there. But Donnarumma is going to be the starter no matter what, in my opinion.
Sure.
Brooks, there was something you wanted to add to the list before the show started that we did not add to the list. What was that?
Oh, it was just the Victor Boniface not getting into AC Milan.
Medical, right?
Yeah, I failed the medical. I mean, AC Milan's had a little bit of turnover. Obviously the lad heading to the Dutch lad heading to Man City, losing him was a big one. Some other guys leaving.
That's a good thing for Eric Ten Hag, right? That's a good thing for Eric Ten Hag that Boniface is not going to AC Milan because now he gets a forward back.
Exactly. Who they probably weren't going to replace because they haven't replaced any of the players they've let go this year so far. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, listen, AC Milan won this past weekend 2-0. Yeah. So, they're fine right now. But I'm sure Zlatan and the other guys in the front office want to add a few more players because they have high expectations for AC Milan. AC Milan wins, league titles, and they compete for Champions League titles, and, they want to get back there. And last year seemed like a disappointment with all the additions they made. Hoping to push for the second half of the season to push up the table. So interesting to see what they'll do here with the window still open here in Italy.
All right, last item on my agenda, boys. We've kind of forgot to mention it earlier. I do have a Substack coming out this week, a Substack article on all of the young English players to keep your eyes on for the year. And we forgot to mention during that Arsenal win that 15-year-old Max Dellman came on as a sub in the 62nd minute. He's 15 years, 235 days old, and he's making his debut for Arsenal. Just incredible. Just absolutely incredible. 15 years old. By the way, Books, he's bigger and stronger than both you and Danny. The kid looks like he knows what he's doing. And Arteta was quoted afterwards saying, I love this kid because he can come in and act like he's done it before, and he's fearless. He just gets the ball and he knows what to do. He's fearless. Fellas, you'll see from the Substack article I'm writing, there is a dozen or more young English players, anywhere from 15 to 21 years old, that are just absolutely incredible. Danny, it might be coming home in 2026 or 2030 or 2034 with all these kids we've got, my friend.
With the under 21,
we'll see if
with the under 21s winning, recently, you'd like to think so. They're definitely doing something right in the FA right now because there is a lot of young players coming through. I mean, you just talked about Max Dolman there. We've got the young kid at Liverpool that scored the winner tonight. That's come into the team. You've got Tyler Dibbling that's just signed for Everton's another great forward. JJ Gabriel at Manchester United's 14 years old and is an absolutely incredible player. And I'm not just saying that because he's United. He's an young English lad that's playing in the under 18s for England at 14. I mean, the kid is a monster. But yeah, there's some really, really good English players coming through.
Yeah, I mean, just going down the list. So Ria Ngoma, like we talked about, of Liverpool, Trey Nyoni of Liverpool, Will Wright from Liverpool, Max Doman, Arsenal, Divine Mukasa of Manchester City, Sim Mukaka from Chelsea, Josh King from Fulham, Harry Howell from Brighton, Aiden Heaven from Manchester United, Harry Amass from Manchester United, Chris Rigg, Harrison Armstrong, Caleb Korha. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. There's a great player, young player at Aston Villa, Caden Young. He looks like he could be a hell of a player. The FA, the English FA, has done something incredibly right.
I'll tell you what, and we're forgetting about one right there. And it's hard to kind of say that he's not a youngster, but he's had such a great impact on the league. Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace. Yeah. Future, my opinion, future England captain. Sure. Incredible player. So lots of really good players coming through.
Yep. We'll have that coming out on our Substack this week. Do us a favor, everybody. Give us a like, give us a subscription, give us a share. Find us on all of the social media platforms. Like and subscribe to our Substack. It comes out weekly with some really fun information that Brooks and I decided to write about. Whatever, we feel like. All right, boys, that'll wrap us up for the night. Anything we got to add?
No.
No. All right. Before we wrap it up, I do want to say a big thank you to our partners. A big thank you to Soccer World. You can find all of your soccer gear needs at soccerworld.net. Big thank you to Next Level Training. Aaron, Dylan, Scotty, Summer, the boys and the girls over there at Next Level Training. They are the best trainers in the country. Trust me. Big thank you to the football doc, Dr. Zachary Atwood. If you're hurt and you need to get back on the field, or if you need to do some baseline testing, hit up the football doc, Dr. Zachary Atwood. Big thank you to the Michigan Jaguars. MichiganJaguarsFC.com for more information on that wonderful club. And last but not least, they provide the beer and the drinks and the good times. Dog and Pony Show Brewing, big thank you to those guys over there. Hit them up there in Oak Park. What a great place they have to drink beer. All right, boys, that'll wrap us up for the week. I appreciate it. And you can find us on all of the social media platforms. Give us a follow. Join in the Facebook group for a lot more fun. Boys, thanks, and we'll talk next week. Cheers.